What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So we got a lot of stuff to get to today. First, we got to discuss how our congressional leaders are admitting that they've been so preoccupied with other things instead of focusing on getting the government funding bill passed. We're also gonna dive into what Senator Joe Manchin is really being pushed for, because according to the White House, there is some support to try to sanction Russia's oil. Now let's get into the video. What we know is congressional leaders are now telling us that they've been extremely focused on the State of the Union address. It was a big one, which I don't know why they're so focused on that. There wasn't really anything new. They have also been extremely focused on the conflicts in Ukraine, because what's happening in Ukraine is impacting us here on US oil. Therefore, they have been not focused at all at negotiating the government funding bill. This is a real issue. They are not saying that it's going to be extremely tight in order to get this bill passed for March 11th. That's a deadline in 8 days. Here's what we could see. We're not going to see corner reports and a funding bill for the rest 2022. We could see another short-term extension, maybe 30 days, probably not. The expectation is we're going to see a 10-day, very short-term continuing resolution to hopefully push it back a little bit further so that we can actually pass a bill. Now, I think this is where the American people get so frustrated by all this. Lawmakers know about this deadline for quite some time, but they've just kept expanding it for the past year. It's approaching. Everything else seems to take priority, except for what's important here in the US and to the American people. Just looking at the recent poll, about 60% of Americans are fed up with being pushed to the back burner. But the talks of this afternoon, we're on at $32.5 billion that would like to get pushed into whatever bill gets passed. That's $10 billion is going to go to Ukraine, help them for humanitarian efforts in aid and food and stuff like that. The other $22.5 billion would actually go towards COVID funding. That is precautionary measure in case we see another variant or surge of cases in the summer or next year or 2 years down the line, then money will be there. Now, we got some more interesting news out of the Senate today. The Senate earlier this week passed a bill called the Strengthening American Cybersecurity Act. Now, this bill should require companies in critical sectors to alert the government, and they simply alert the government officials or a potential hacked ransomware or things like that. But what we heard today is that senior officials at the Department of Justice are saying that this bill has serious flaws, and they're criticizing the lack of reporting that would go to the FBI. They believe that the FBI should be more involved, which according to this bill, they wouldn't be. But what we do know is that this bill obviously had bipartisan support. It passed, but it had flaws. And I just wanted to bring this up because this is what a lot of people have been asking for, is strengthening our cybersecurity. And a lot of people are worried about Russian hackers. Are they gonna hack into our bank accounts and freeze our assets like the United States is doing to some of them? Now I see it could happen. This is exactly why in the week before that, I actually give you multiple warnings that put a little bit of money out. If you're worried about what if something were to happen, at least you've had a little bit of money sitting there. Now, today, the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki stated that the White House wants to impose maximum pain on Vladimir Putin, but they want to do it by providing minimal pain to the American people. And she says this because more and more lawmakers have questioned why President Biden is waiting so long to sanction Russian oil. According to reports, this sanction would be the final straw right before a war. So if we sanction Russian oil, many expect this is gonna get done. Here's the only problem. This is gonna increase gas prices here in the US and in Europe as well. We got inflation and rising gas prices, two things hurting the American people. So reports indicate that the Biden administration is looking for different ways to limit the hurt on rising oil prices. And once a solution is found, they could sanction Russian oil. Today, the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell stated that they appear to be behind in inflation. What we know is that the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates by 25 basis points. So chances are we're gonna see 7 to 9 rate increases over the next year. So understand, will they tackle inflation? Will that bring inflation down? It will at least limit how fast it's been going up. It's gonna bring it all the way back down to 2%. But that's a very long-term approach. So that's not gonna completely shock the markets and inflation all the way back down. So the expectation is we could be in a recession very soon. Now I want to let you know about a new bill that the Senate Republicans passed today. This bill by the Senate Republicans would actually terminate the National Emergency Declaration for COVID. It passed in Senate 48-47. Now President Biden has already threatened to veto this bill if it does come to his desk. But this is very unlikely because it would have to pass the Democratic-led House, and the assumption is it wouldn't. But the White House stated that there was a reckless and costly mistake to try and end the emergency declaration. Now, ending the emergency declaration would actually end some stimulus as well. I believe SNAP benefits would take a hit. You wouldn't get the supplemental benefits, that is like the $90 to $100 per month many families are getting. Health coverage would most likely end for millions of Americans, and much more. There's a lot of stuff in there that is still going out because we have this emergency declaration in place. And this is why so many people are pushing Senator Joe Manchin to get behind another stimulus bill. Let's get into the news on Russia and Ukraine for a second. One official stated that Putin is determined to carry on with the ongoing war until the end. We do know that Ukraine has received more than $54 million in Bitcoin. And this is coming in as more and more donations keep on rolling in. According to JP Morgan, they're estimating that Russia's economy will shrink by 35% simply due to the sanctions imposed on the country and their upper class. So essentially what's happening there will be a long-term effect. It's gonna hurt the economy for quite some time. Now, some good news. Ukrainians who are here in the United States will actually be given temporary legal status. I know it got a lot of people that asked about this, that does every single Ukrainian get to come to the United States? The answer is no. If you're a Ukrainian here in the United States, and you've been here since at least March the 1st, then you will have temporary legal status. But if you start coming or trying to get into the US now, you would have no legal status. So that's what we know at this time. But as always, as I know more, I'll come back and share all the latest news and updates. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful day. Consider subscribing and I'll see you again.